What if the money in your pocket wasn't a symbol of wealth but a symbol of control? What if everything you've ever been taught about value, success, and prosperity was built on a lie so deep, it quietly shapes every decision you make, every government policy written, and every economic boom or collapse you've ever witnessed? For centuries, humanity has believed in money as the language of value, but behind that belief lies a hidden war. A war between what money pretends to represent and what it truly destroys. This is the secret war between money and real value. To uncover this war, we have to go back to the very origins of money itself. Long before digital screens, credit cards, and central banks, value was simple. It was grain, gold, cattle, land real, tangible things that had purpose and use. You couldn't print a cow, and you couldn't fake a field of wheat. Value was physical, earned, and limited. But as societies grew and trade stretched across continents, a new problem emerged. How do you carry your wealth with you? That question changed everything. The first major transformation came with coins. Ancient governments discovered a clever trick. If you stamp your authority on a piece of metal, people will accept it as valuable. Over time, rulers learned they could mix cheaper metals into gold and silver coins, creating more money without creating more wealth. The system was born. Control the currency, and you control the people. Rome did it, Byzantium did it. And every empire that followed repeated the same mistake. When empires began collapsing, historians blamed politics, war, corruption, but underneath it all was a simple truth. Their money stopped representing real value. Centuries later, another leap was made. Paper money. At first it was revolutionary. Instead of carrying gold, merchants could carry a note of promise from a bank that real gold was stored safely elsewhere. This was trust on paper. But as soon as governments and banks realized they could issue more notes than the gold they actually held, greed took over. That's when the war between money and real value turned silent but deadly. The rise of central banking in the 17th and 18th centuries institutionalized this war. Private bankers discovered the secret formula for infinite wealth: lend out money that doesn't exist yet, collect interest on it, and expand the supply endlessly. The Bank of England pioneered this system, and soon the world followed. The concept of fractional reserve banking became the foundation of modern finance. Banks could lend out many times more than they had in reserves, and yet society accepted this illusion as normal. The illusion worked until it didn't. Fast forward to the early 20th century. The gold standard still loosely tethered currencies to real value, but that leash was wearing thin. The First World War forced governments to print unprecedented amounts of money to finance destruction, not production. After the war, inflation, debt, and reconstruction pushed economies to their limits. Then, in 1929, the illusion shattered. The Great Depression wasn't just a market crash, it was a collapse in confidence.
Ow.
People realized the wealth they thought they had existed only in numbers, not in reality.
Oh.
Millions lost everything. And in the ashes of that crisis, new powers rose to ensure control stayed in the hands of the few. The creation of the Federal Reserve in the United States and similar institutions worldwide gave governments and bankers unprecedented influence over economies. They could now manipulate interest rates, expand or contract the money supply, and decide without public consent how much money existed in the system. In theory, this was to stabilize economies. In practice, it concentrated control. After World War II, global leaders attempted to restore faith in money through the Bretton Woods system. The US dollar would be backed by gold, and every other currency would be backed by the dollar. For a while it worked. Global trade flourished, and the illusion of stability returned. But behind the scenes, America was printing more dollars than its gold reserves could cover. By 1971, the numbers no longer matched reality. President Richard Nixon ended the dollar's gold convertibility. Overnight, money became purely fiat value by decree, backed by nothing but trust. The final link between money and real value was severed. From that moment on, the war escalated into its modern form. Money creation became limitless. Central banks could print billions or trillions at the push of a button. Governments could borrow endlessly. Corporations could leverage debt to grow, and individuals could live on credit. The illusion of prosperity spread across the world, but it was built on sand. Every dollar printed without backing devalued the ones already in circulation. Inflation wasn't an accident, it was a design. The 1980s brought deregulation and a new era of financial engineering. Derivatives, complex securities, and speculative markets became the new battlefield. Real value labor, production, innovation was replaced by financial manipulation. Money no longer reflected the value of goods or services. It reflected the confidence of traders, algorithms, and policymakers. The rich got richer not by creating more value, but by exploiting the system that created money itself. Then came 2008, the breaking point of the modern age. The global financial crisis exposed the entire structure for what it truly was: a house of cards built on debt, leverage, and illusion. Banks had created trillions of dollars in synthetic value mortgages, securities and derivatives that collapsed the moment real-world value failed to keep up. The world stood at the edge of economic ruin. And what was the solution? More money printing, more debt, more illusion. The system that caused the crisis was rescued by the same tools that created it. Today, that cycle continues. Global debt has soared past $350 trillion. For every dollar in the real economy, there are dozens more in digital or speculative form. The world's largest economies rely on debt to survive, and inflation eats away at purchasing power year after year. This is the secret war between money and real value. It's not fought with guns or soldiers, but with policies, interest rates, and printing presses. It's a war where those who understand the system use it to accumulate power, while everyone else unknowingly fights to survive within it. The greatest trick of the modern age is that the illusion of wealth feels like progressive as real value erodes beneath it. And yet, this pattern is not new. Every empire in history, from Rome to Britain to the United States, has walked this same path. At first, money reflects value. Then it manipulates value. And finally, it replaces value. When that replacement becomes complete, collapse follows. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes, and it's rhyming louder every decade. So what can we learn from this ongoing war? First, money itself is not wealth. Real wealth is land, skills, time, and community, things that hold intrinsic worth even when currencies fail. Second, debt is not just an obligation, it's a chain that keeps nations and individuals dependent on the same system that drains them. And third, the illusion of infinite money is humanity's most dangerous addiction. The more we create from nothing, the more we disconnect from everything real. The warning is clear. Every time a currency detaches from real value, it eventually collapses under its own weight. We are repeating that cycle now, only faster and on a global scale. The next collapse won't be just financial, it will be philosophical. When people lose faith in money itself, civilization has to redefine what value means. The secret war between money and real value is still being fought quietly, daily, and everywhere. The question is not whether it will end, but how it will end. Will we reclaim real value before the illusion consumes everything? Or will we remain prisoners of a system that profits from our belief in it? If this opened your eyes, don't stop here. There is more to uncover, more hidden truths about how money shapes our world and how history is repeating itself right now. Subscribe for more deep dives. Share this with someone who still trusts the illusion. And remember, in a world where money can be created from nothing, real value is the rarest currency of all.